Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages.
Good day for the world. We got I told because now this is Reverend Billy Sinwar. They have called a bloody ass. American blood, Israeli blood, nothing.
This shadowy figure was one of the most wanted men in the world. Here, he sits alone in a chair, surrounded by dust and rubble. He picks up a piece of wood and throws it at the drone camera. The footage captures the last moments of Hamas's elusive leader, Yahya Sinwar, as he was killed in an Israeli operation in southern Gaza on Wednesday. Ever since October 7th, Sinwar had been Israel's #1 target, as it accused him of masterminding the Hamas attack, pouring its resources into a fierce manhunt for Sinwar. From deploying intelligence officers to using special forces, Israel didn't leave any stone unturned. But what killed Sinwar in the end was a routine military operation. Sinwar's end came when Israeli forces retaliated after coming under fire near a building in Rafah. Though Sinwar's killing is an inflection point in the Israel-Hamas war, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this will not bring an end to the conflict.
While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages.
But the route towards some kind of truce in Gaza seems somewhat possible. Negotiations for a ceasefire and a deal to release the hostages had stalled partly because Sinwar wanted an agreement that allowed Hamas to retain power in a post-war Gaza. On the other hand, Netanyahu only seeks a temporary truce to not allow Hamas's survival.
Time for this war to end. Bring these hostages home. We're going to work out what is the day after next. How do we secure Gaza, move on?
Reports quoting analysts suggest that Hamas's remaining leadership might agree to make compromises, something that seemed impossible when Sinwar was alive. While Sinwar's death is one of the major flashpoints of the war, it's highly unlikely to bring any immediate change, as Hamas has survived the deaths of many previous leaders. And Netanyahu still weighs a renewed push for a hostage deal. Some of his top allies want him to continue the war. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Now, with the death of Yahya Sinwar in Gaza and the elimination of Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon, the big question that we are asking on the show is a ceasefire now within reach? Now, I'm currently joined by a senior journalist from Haifa in Israel, Aaron Singer. Aaron, welcome to NDTV. I, first of all, want to understand from you the statement that the Prime Minister gave, Benjamin Netanyahu gave, saying that, look, this is not the end of the war. This is the beginning of the end. Just elaborate, what exactly does that mean?
Well, as we could hear in the last hours, one of the Hamas officials, Khalil Khaya, after approving or after admitting that Yahya Sinwar was killed by Israeli forces, Hamas is saying again there will be no end to this war until Israel gets out of Gaza and frees all the hostages. In other words, Hamas are not compromising. We are not going to see new compromises made by Hamas. And I think that this is what the Prime Minister Netanyahu was trying to say when he said that this is not the end of the war, but this is the beginning of the end. Because Yahya Sinwar was not only Hamas leader. He was the architect of the 7th of October war last year. He is the one who was responsible not only for the deaths of thousands of Israelis, but the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians, because this atrocity that happened in Gaza was because of him. He is the one who was responsible for this, for initiating this attack. And this might suggest why Netanyahu said that this is the beginning of the end, because it will be very hard right now to convince other elements, more moderate elements inside Gaza, to cooperate with Israel. According to some sources, this is what Israel is trying to do right now. Instead of talking to Hamas leaders who are now dead, most of them are dead, Israel would try to talk to local elements inside the Gaza Strip. And for the time being, it seems that it's not that easy. It will be very difficult to talk directly to those elements who have been very, let's say, cautious until now because of Hamas activity in the region of the Gaza Strip.
Having said that, how will, according to you, Sinwar's death affect Hamas's leadership and its operations now? And is Israel concerned that a succession might already be in place?
Well, I think Israel is aware that someone will go on or will keep on trying to get into the shoes of Yahya Sinwar, but it will be very difficult, because when we look at the operational activities of Hamas or capabilities of Hamas, they have lost most of their rockets, most of their fire power. Israel is now controlling the Gaza Strip with its military forces. It will be very hard for Hamas to get over it in the next few months or years. On the other hand, and this is where the world is trying to help right now, Israel is not planning to stay there. I must say, there are some radical elements within the Israeli coalition who are saying we have to build new settlements inside, or to rebuild the Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip. But when you asked the majority of Israelis in the latest polls, you will see that Israelis are not willing to go back to Gaza. They're not willing to build new settlements. This is why I think that for the next few weeks and months and maybe years, we'll see the Israeli military operating inside Gaza. But when it comes to the civilian activity, Israel will have to talk to the moderate Arab world, to the moderate Muslim countries in the region, to convince them to cooperate in order to run the lives of millions of Palestinians in Gaza.
Aaron, is there a fear of potential repercussion to this particular action now? Are there concerns about potential reprisal attacks or escalations from Hamas or any other such organizations?
Well, the answer to this question is now in Tehran.
Okay.
When you look back to the activity of Hamas and of Hezbollah, you will see that this whole operation was conducted by the Iranians. The Iranians are afraid that Hamas and mostly Hezbollah are losing power. This whole activity, as I said, was under the responsibility of the Iranians. And once they see that their allies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis are losing power, there are two possibilities. The first one is to give up and to say we surrender, and I can assure you that this is not something that the Iranians are going to do. Yeah. And the second possibility, or the second option, is to try again, to send missiles, to send ammunition, to make everything possible they can in order to find new allies for the Iranians and to attack Israel again. And this is where the diplomacy must play a role. Because if we don't succeed, if Israel keeps on saying no to moderate elements, if Israel keeps on saying no to the Americans and saying we are not done with this war, we want to keep on attacking them, instead of talking to moderate Arab countries like the Egyptians or the Qataris or the Saudis and others, it will be harder and harder for Israel to have other friends or moderate, as I said, moderate friends, in order to have some kind of a change in our region. When you look at Hezbollah is much more powerful than Hamas, and Hezbollah are also losing. But for how long? I mean, Israel has had many amazing achievements in southern Lebanon. But on the other hand, for how long? But in 2 or 3 years from now, if it continues, Israel might find itself in front of a much stronger militia army than Hezbollah if we don't find the right way to solve this problem once and for all by diplomacy.